What's up guys, Mike from Rockville, and today we are going to be talking about how to use and set up your Rock Matrix 4 4-zone amplifier with matrix source routing. Let's get to it. So in front of me I have the Rock Matrix 4 and everything it comes with, which is just a power cable. All you have to do is take the female end, plug that into the back over here. You're going to take the other end and plug it into your power source. Then there's the power button on the back right above where you plug it in. Turn it on. You'll hear the fans come on, which lets you know that you have power. So to simply break down the Rock Matrix 4, it basically has two functions: inputting and outputting. Now we have 4 channels that we can input through, which you can see on the back over here. Each channel has a microphone XLR input as well as line inputs. They're either 1/4-inch line inputs or RCA line inputs. And this is how we're going to get our music signal into the Rock Matrix 4. On top of that, we also have our zone outputs, which are on this side over here. They're terminals, and they give us a couple options on how we can wire our speakers. Now in this specific video, I'm going to show you how to set up a simple 70-volt setup off of all the ceiling speakers I have in the room. Let's start with wiring. So over here we have our speaker output terminals. They're split into the 4 different zones. So we have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. And right next to that we have our 1/4-inch line outputs. That's to send the signal forward if you want to expand your setup. But let's talk about just wiring right now. So I'm doing a 70-volt setup. Now the coolest thing about 70-volt technology is that it's all parallel wires. This allows you to just go from positive to positive and negative to negative all the way down the chain. Now I cheated this setup a little bit because I already have my 2 speakers that I'm using for zone 1 wired together. It was all parallel wiring, so I just went from the positive terminal of one speaker to the positive terminal of the next speaker, negative to the negative, and I actually have my speaker leads right here. Now before I actually wire this to the terminals, it is important when you are doing a 70-volt setup to make sure that you have them tapped to the appropriate wattage that your zone can handle. Now what I mean is, I have 2 speakers in this specific zone. I have them both tapped at 20 watts. On each zone of the Rock Matrix 4, it is able to produce 110 watts of power. So since I only have 2 speakers both tapped at 20 watts, that's only 40 watts of power. So I'm going to be well under the amount that this amplifier can produce for that zone. So we're good. But that's just something you want to keep in mind, is that when you're doing a bigger 70-volt install, say you had all of your speakers tapped at 1 watts and you had like 100 speakers, you just want to make sure that the zone and amplifier are able to produce more power than the speakers are pulling. Okay, so now that both of my speakers are wired to each other and they're both tapped appropriately, I can go and take the speaker leads and run them directly into the terminals. What you're going to need to grab is a Phillips screwdriver. So now with my Phillips screwdriver, I'm going to take out the common screw. This is our ground placement. I'm going to take it fully out. I'm going to take my black speaker wire over here. I'm going to loop it around the screw just so it has a nice connection. Then I'm going to line this screw back up with the common hole. Take my Phillips screwdriver, I'm going to screw it back into place. And again, we're doing a 70-volt setup, so I find my 70-volt terminal. I take that screw completely out, and this is what we're going to attach our positive speaker wire to. It's the same thing. I have my screw right there. I tighten this, and then I'm going to loop it all the way around the screw. Line it up with the hole. Take your Phillips screwdriver. You're going to tighten it all the way. Cool, so that's just how you hook up 2 speakers to 1 zone. The process for all the other zones is exactly the same. So I'm gonna skip ahead and do the other 3 zones really quickly. I'll see you in a minute. All right guys, so I just finished wiring all of the zones. Let me explain them really quickly. So zone 1 was these 2 speakers over here. They're the ceiling speakers. Zone 2 is actually ceiling speakers in the next room over. Zone 3 is actually going to be the 2 ceiling speakers right above the cameras. And then zone 4 is these 2 70-volt wall speakers that are on the wall over there. So now let's talk about inputting. So channels 3 and 4 have an RCA line level signal input. So I have an RCA to aux cable here. I'm going to take this end, plug it right into channel 3. Then I can take this end and plug it into something like an iPad or a laptop. And now remember, we're using input channel 3. So let's switch over to channel 3. We go 1, 2, 3. And now if I play something through my iPad, you're not going to hear it until I pick a zone. So I can pick zone 1. You hear the music coming through. Now I can turn off zone 1 and play through zone 3, which is the speakers right above you. I could turn that off and then play just through zone 4. Or I can play through all speakers. So I can select zone 4, zone 3, zone 2, and zone 1. But now where the Rock Matrix 4 actually is a lot different is the way that you can do multi-inputting at the same time and have it output through multiple different zones. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to connect it to Bluetooth really quick. So our Bluetooth channel is actually our channel 4 for inputting. The one thing you need to make sure is that on the back there is an MP3 button. You want to make sure that it's pushed in. If it's not pushed in, you're not going to hear any sound coming through. So make sure the MP3 button on the back on channel 4 is pushed in. Now, a quick note about the Bluetooth module is that's also where you can input music through USB, an SD card reader, and then you have your buttons over here that allow you to play, pause, skip, or go back. I'm going to go into my phone, go to the Bluetooth, and find the Rock Matrix 4. Once it says connected on your phone, you're actually hooked up to channel 4 inputting. So that's this channel over here. So I can go to my input selector and I can just play something. Remember, you need to select a zone, so I'll just select zone 1. So that's coming from my phone. So now just to illustrate what you can do with this, I'm going to play that smooth jazz off my iPad through zone 1. And then off of zone 3, I'm going to play that heavy beat music. So I'm going to go over to channel 3 first. That's my iPad channel right now. I'm just going to have it come through zone 1, which is the speakers right above me. Then I'm going to go to channel 4, which is my iPhone. I'm only going to have it come through zone 3, which is the 2 speakers that are above the camera. So first we're going to play our jazz. You hear it coming through zone 1. And now what I'm going to do is play music through zone 3 from my iPhone. So you heard that at the same time it was playing music through zone 1, it was also able to play music through zone 3. So this gives you a lot of flexibility on how you can set up different areas of your business. Say you owned a hotel and you were using this as the main audio brain of your whole audio system. You could have different music playing in the lobby, say in zone 1, that you do in your pool area. And the cool thing about having that multi-zone, having those different microphone inputs, is you can use those microphone inputs to make announcements through different zones. So in the hotel example, if you wanted to page someone to the front desk, you could have that just coming out of zone 1, and the people in the pool area won't hear that announcement. The other cool thing is we have these quick mute buttons, so if you ever want to just mute a zone completely, you can just engage it so that it turns off that channel completely. And another really cool thing is that each zone output has its own 3-band EQ. It's a high, low, and mid EQ to really fine-tune each zone around the room that those speakers are in. And now since this is a 70-volt system, and oftentimes you're using a 70-volt system in a commercial space, we have a fire 1/4-inch input as well as speaker input so that you can integrate this system with a fire alarm if you want to do that. On top of that, we have 24-volt terminals if you want to power this unit off an external battery. So hopefully this video showed you how easy it is to set up the Rock Matrix 4 in your 70-volt setup, and hopefully we also inspired some different creative ways that you can use it and integrate it into your setup. But again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support tech team through phone or email. As always guys, I'm Mike from Rockville. I'll see you next time.